The next item on the agenda is a discussion of the user fees for high school activities and athletics. Mr. Devine, Mr. Gillis, and Mr. Quatromoni are here with that presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell, and members of the school committee for allowing us to present
Thank you.
This evening, Mr. Gillis and I.
Thanks.
So the opening slide is a snapshot of athletic opportunity and participation rates. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Meg. Thank you. The opening slide is a snapshot of athletic participation in terms of individual students and overall opportunities and the participation rate. In FY15, 119 student athletes, different student athletes participated with 358 opportunities, so those are slots on teams. And the number I'm most excited about is the 60% participation rate, which is the highest in my 8 years here in the district as the athletic director. And I think it's also a nice number to note that 55.5 is the national average.
Wow.
I'd just like to add a little bit to that. You know, athletics are an important part of the program here at Hull High School, just like they are in every other high school. And there's been a study done in North Carolina that's been done 3 times and been updated 3 times over the years. And it's known as the Overton Study. A gentleman named Gary Overton did the work on it for his doctoral degree. And student athletes tend to have a GPA that, on average, is about 17 to 23% higher than students that do not participate in sports and extracurricular activities. And on average, they average about 5 fewer days absent per year. So that's a whole week more they're in school. They're 10% less likely to have to go see the principal for disciplinary issues, which is, you know, always near and dear to Mr. Devine's heart. And they're 12 times less likely to drop out than the students that are not athletes. Giving kids something to do at school that they look forward to each day is just another reason to come. Students are just like adults. You know, we all want to have something we enjoy, and when you have that, it makes for a better experience. And last but not least, on average, the kids scored about 8% higher on standardized math tests and about 11% higher on standardized English language arts tests. So, you know, the athletic program is more than just athletics. It adds quite a bit to the school department. So, I don't have the clicker. Thanks, Mike. So next we have what we've spent the last 3 years. In fiscal 13, $267,000. Fiscal 14, $246,000, and fiscal 15, $252,000 is what's projected for the rest of the year. You'll notice the dip between fiscal 13 and fiscal 14. It's about an 8% drop, and there are reasons for that. One, fiscal 13, we had to have a lot of reconditioning for helmets. We have to have the helmets for football, you know, tested to make sure that they meet a certain impact standard, and we had to do quite a few of them that year. We had some other changes as well, in that reduced the expenditures there, and we had some student activity money that we also spent down in fiscal 14, about $6,000. So that's where you see the difference. And then we're sort of back to our normal business operating in fiscal 15. And these numbers include all of the athletic department expenses, from the athletic director right down to you know, a ball for the field. All right, I'll turn it back over to Jim.
So to get us to the number that Mr. Gillis just spoke of, this is our breakdown. Stipends of the coaching stipends and athletic director stipend. Transportation is an estimate to date. Game officials, anytime we have a contest, we'll have game officials that the state association determines their rate of pay. Athletic trainer at football and home basketball events. Police detail at football events. Ice rental for our practice ice in Weymouth. Equipment and supplies, uniforms, and some miscellaneous expenses, including league dues, state association dues, and the reconditioning of football equipment. Over the last 3 years, you see here the donations that the Boosters Club has made to our cause as an athletic department, and any chance that I get, especially with the cameras rolling, to thank every and any booster for their efforts. We're about to come into, I think, a third cycle of boosters, as their role here with our athletic department has been so prominent. And they're just amazing people, and we certainly couldn't be doing what we're doing without them, and I can't thank them enough. This number is projected based on the expenses as predicted in the previous slides. Our current fee structure, this will be the third full year that we've had this structure in place. You'll note that students participating in football and ice hockey have a $25 additional fee. There are some additional expenses that go with ice hockey with the ice, and then football in terms of equipment and reconditioning of equipment that happens on a yearly basis. $575 individual cap, and then the $1,050 immediate family cap.
Okay, so the athletic user fees make up about a quarter of the program's operating expenses, and they're posted for you above. FY15 is an estimate, based on all the payments coming in, but for the most part, that's pretty close. That's probably what it's going to be. If we go to the next slide, we have athletic gate receipts. This is where we sell tickets, get into football, basketball games, and a few other events. You see the difference in FY14. That's because when we host the home football game, we get to keep the receipts from that game. When Cohasset hosts, they get to keep the receipts. It's a simpler, easier accounting that way. And they tend to hire a lot more police officers than we do, so when Jim came, he got that changed, so we didn't have to overpay for services. I just appreciated that as a business manager. And if we go to the next slide, we got our athletic department totals. And you can see where it is, where the money comes in, and how that's likely to be spent. And then the last part, we're not recommending any increase in the fee structure for next year. We've been able to balance the program and the way it's been operating between the boosters, which do a fantastic job, the user fees, where we're really right in the middle of 67 districts that we looked at. And you got to take into consideration when you look at other districts. There are still some districts that don't pay a fee, but when 2/3 of your kids are on free and reduced lunch and you can't charge them a fee, it makes it really hard to start charging fees to the 1 out of 3 kids that would be left. But most people have a fee, and we're kind of right in the middle of that fee structure. And we haven't raised the fee in a few years, and we're not seeing a need to raise it now. I guess at this point, if there's any questions.
All right, let me, who would like to start, David or Eric, which side?
I just really have a comment. I mean, it's pretty much, it is what it is. I mean, Jim, I've said this a number of times, but you do a great job. And your job is actually, you could actually work in higher education. You'd be like a development professional where you just do fundraising, because that's pretty much a big part of this job right now is fundraising and reaching out to alumni and running the Hall of Fame and doing all those kinds of things. So he goes above and beyond just being an athletic director. He's doing a fundraising aspect, which a lot of athletic directors throughout the state or throughout the country do not have to do. So I commend you on a good job. That's it.
Okay. Michelle?
Yep, same thing. It is what it is. Same thing as last year. I'm one of the people that always volunteer for the gate receipts, and
Yes.
I'm a little bully sometimes, but it's okay. It's good.
ATM right over there. I love
know.
it.
That's so funny.
No,
Eric?
Just to echo that, thank you. Thank you particularly for putting this presentation together. We've been doing this for the last couple of years, and it's just good to understand. Unfortunately, this program is not fully funded by the school department budget, and but it's good to continue to have a handle on all the revenues coming in and where all the money's going out. Again, thank you to the boosters and the other groups as well, the Friends of basketball and hockey and all these other groups that are donating this money. It is good to recognize, though, that we have a continued significant, it's about $50,000 between the boosters and other donations. Don't want to shortchange them, actually it's about $52,000. But out of a $252,000 budget, that means that we're getting more like 20% is donations, and the other is coming from the school department and from gate receipts and more sustainable sources. We'll continue to plug away so that we don't have to rely so heavily on donations, but I appreciate all the effort to do that.
I echo what the committee said. Thank you very much for your hard work. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
Matt has to stay up there.
Well, that's just it. Dennis, I was asking you about this one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we want to take questions now, or would it be okay if you answered a question now from the audience? Is that, okay.
Whatever you're comfortable
Dennis, go right ahead.
I'm just curious, what's the projection of how long can we expect the boosters to continue subsidizing? I mean, I know they work relentlessly along with the drama people to make up the difference, but what's the projection in terms of how long that could be sustained in terms of the numbers of parents and kids that are able to do that? Is there a projection that you've played with?
I don't have a specific projection for you, Dennis, but I will say to you that this, I think, is the third group of parents to come through since we were relying so heavily on boosters donations. And it seems to me, though some of them have lasted longer and stayed around even after their children have left, that it's that period of time while their children are in school, and then one or two hang around and stay. I don't have an answer for you. I hope the answer is as long as we need them. As long as we need them. And these people have shown qualities that I didn't know existed in human beings over these past 5 years. So I'll hope that that's the accurate answer.
Yes, Susan.
So what happens with kids whose families can't afford?
We have a waiver process. There's paperwork for the students and their families to fill out, and we have a payment plan option as well.
Any idea what's the percentage of kids who don't pay?
Roughly 18%.
18?
Yes.
Jim, is that based on free and reduced lunch?
It is.
But many of the students on free and reduced lunch do pay.
That's
Right,
correct.
Right.
Can I answer that? So in terms of programming, are you looking at the same programs for next year, the same teams, fielding the same?
Yes, though we do, there are times where interest will dictate that. 15 sports, 27 teams. We've been consistent with that.
And you've done reduction in games, correct?
We have. That was one of the areas that helped with the reduction from 13 to 14.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
Reduction in which games?
There are games that are permitted to play 18 to 20 games. We wouldn't play that full schedule. A game like football, we did play the full schedule. Quite honestly, it's a revenue generating the gate receipts. We do well with football gate receipts.
What happens when during this winter, when the games don't get played and whatever? So did you realize a savings in that, or did those games get made up?
There were some sub-varsity games that did not get made up, so there would have been a savings, but not a difference in the number you see today. But the number you see today would have been larger. We will be in the same situation here with the spring, with the field conditions across the South Shore. We're 26 events scheduled to date in the spring, and we've had 4 of those events. So we're feverishly rescheduling. There could be the same situation where games that had been scheduled may not be played.
So is that just varsity or junior varsity too? Or?
Yes, the varsity games must be completed by rule of the state association, but the sub-varsity games, when you run out of dates and field space, there's no place to go with them. And we're in a situation here, unlike any other school in our league, that we have one field for both boys and girls lacrosse and JV baseball. So it really creates a crunch there in terms of scheduling.
The first game is tomorrow for the JV.
That has been moved to Abington. It will be in Abington instead of here today, tomorrow, but we will play it.
It's gonna rain.
It's going to rain, right?
Maybe
No,
Wednesday.
that's not going to.
Let me just dream for the night.
It's going to be perfect time. Okay, so,
You want to move on to theater arts, Matt?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
thank you.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to come out tonight and talk about the theater arts program. About 10 to 15% of our students are involved in the theater arts program, depending on the show. And it is an essential part of what we do. Jim, you want to go to the next slide? Would be great. As you know, we have two great shows during the school year: The Addams Family and Mary Poppins. Both of those shows very well attended. If you were at any of the performances of Mary Poppins, 2 out of the 4 performances were sellouts. And you know, it was a great tribute to our students, their hard work. You know, we focus a lot on athletics, and I think those of the parents and the students who have been involved with the drama program will tell you the amount of hours that those students put in and the amount of hard work that they put in rivals any student athlete that we have here at Hull High School. It really is a great opportunity for our students.
Okay, so posted up on the screen, you'll see the current balances for the funding sources for the drama program. There's also a budget line item, one line item, that funds the program as well. But you see the first number there is $29,784, student activity account. That is a very successful student activity program. A lot of other programs, maybe a couple $1,000s will run in and out of there. And you know, to echo what Mike was saying, the kids couldn't be that successful on their own without a little help and sacrifice from their parents and from some good advising. They do an awful lot, and they actually fund the bulk of their own program. The donations help quite a bit, and so do the user fees in the revolving fund. The beginning balances in each of the last few years have gone down a little bit, except for the student activity account, which has sort of stayed stable to help balance things. But the program is still in good financial condition.
Could I ask you a quick question, Matt?
Sure.
Could you explain what goes into that number for the student activity account?
Sure. Actually, we'll get to that in actually just the next slide if you want.
Okay.
Matt, do you want us to hold questions until after?
I can go with it a little bit, but you know, when the answer is going to be coming in the presentation, then I'll let you know.
Okay.
So actually, Mike and I had sort of agreed to take turns with these, and I'm going to turn the student activity account back over to him because he's actually the guy that signs the checks, so he knows full well what's going in and out of there.
One of the great things about the student activities account is that's the student's money. Matt says that I sign the check. I cannot write a check from that student activity account unless a student who belongs to that organization gives me the authority to do so. The money in student activities, again, the state law is very specific. That is the student's money. It is raised by students to be spent for students. So the money that goes into the student activity accounts are things like the gate receipts for the shows, the ad books that are done, the raffles that you see done, the basket raffles at the shows, the concessions at the shows, message to the stars, all of that goes into the student activity account. Also, what goes into the student activity account are the fundraisers that we run, meaning that Mr. Doniger has run in the past, such as the cookie dough. I bet a lot of people here have bought pizza. And how many of you have Yankee candles in your house somewhere that you bought from a fine member of our theater arts program? I'm noticing the chucklings. Quite a few of us have those candles. So that money is collected by the students. It goes into the student activity account. What comes out of the student activity account is most of the cost of the play, not the stipends. Matt will talk about that for the staff that's paid to be a part of the production, but the rights to the play. Rights to a play are a very interesting thing. The rights to most plays are owned by one company in New York, and basically you beg, borrow, plead, and ask them to let you put on a production of their play, and then they tell you what you're going to pay for that. That fee of what the rights cost, depending on how many shows you're doing, the capacity of your auditorium, how much you're going to charge. It's really, if we do a play, what they charge us will be different than, say, Marshfield, who has an auditorium which is larger than ours. They take all that into account. Also from that account come the costumes, come lighting and sound needs. The lighting and sound needs are things like the spotlights that just are used for the drama productions, the pieces of plastic that make it so that white light becomes a blue light, or 15 different shades of blue lights. Makeup comes out of that. The set, the amount of bills from Lowe's and Hingham Lumber and Home Depot, Michael's, in lots of different places where Mr. Doniger, I will tell you, had many talents and skills, and one of those talents and skills was finding the cheapest price to pay for everything. And he would go to multiple stores. He will tell stories of going to Michael's, and Michael's you can only use the coupon, one coupon per visit to Michael's. He would go to 4 different Michael's on the South Shore with 4 different coupons in the same day so he could try and save money for the theater arts program. So he did a great job at that. The other thing that goes through the student activity accounts is students will pay for DVDs, they'll pay for t-shirts, so that money will go into the student activity account. When the t-shirts and DVDs come in, a company is then paid for that out of the student activity account when the kids get their t-shirts. So that student activity account is really the main account that when it comes to producing a play, the students are putting their money in and the students are taking their money out. Eric, I don't know if that answered your question.
Could you, what's a ballpark on what the rights are for the various shows?
That varies per play, doesn't it?
I can tell, if you want to let Matt do the next slide, I'll have the answer for you by the time he's done.
Okay.
That slide. It's just over there in my folder.
All right.
Okay, so the next account we're going to talk about is the Drama Donations and Revolving Fund. This is the money that the drama mama and papas raise. And, you know, not only are they successful at helping their kids with their student activities, they go above and beyond and do their own fundraisers, you know, with the kids, rake and takes, car washes, donation drive. They've also had a few other fundraisers in the past. And they raise this money, and it mostly goes into paying the staff and the rental fees to make the productions happen. So it's pretty similar to the user fees or the donations for the athletic boosters. You know, when I really think about this group and how successful they are, it reminds me of a story about Paul Bear Bryant. There was a gentleman doing a book on successful people, and a lot of Paul Bear Bryant was a football coach for Alabama back in the 50s and 60s, and many of his players became millionaires in the 70s and 80s, running successful businesses, and they were trying to figure out just what it was about this one football coach where his players were so successful on the field and off of it. And after a while, the author was struggling to find something, so he asked one of the players, what was the first thing the coach said to you when you arrived at school? Well, he had all the players in the room, all the freshmen, and he said, have you called your folks yet and thanked them? And the players were stunned. And he said, nobody ever made it to where you are today without the help and sacrifice of others. There's no All-American running back that got all those yards without people blocking for him and other people doing their jobs. And, you know, it made me actually, reflecting on this, think of the drama mamas and papas, how much they do and seeing how hard they work for the success of the program. The program wouldn't work without the parents. And I think the kids would already know the answer if they were asked. So, you know, that's what goes into that program. The next is the user fees. It's very simple. The kids pay a fee if they want to be in the program, whether they're in the cast on stage or in the crew, setting everything up and making all the movements to change between scenes. They're all part of the team. They're all part of it. So there's a fee for that, and those fees go into the stipends as well. At this point, I can have Mike come back up and answer that question.
Just the first one that jumped out at me as I was going through was Flat Stanley. Flat Stanley Jr. was about $1,400, $1,492. It was a good year. And that is a very inexpensive play because it's a junior play.
Right.
So if you looked at the Oklahomas, the Mary Poppins, and things like that, you could double it, sometimes go up as high as $4,000 for the rights to the play.
Okay.
And again, that's what we pay. You know, another school doing Mary Poppins would give you a totally different figure than you would get from us because the size of the auditorium. If we charge, you know, we charge $8 and $10 for tickets, we have to report that. If we charge $12 for tickets, the United Theater International would charge us more for the rights. So that's what we pay for, between 14 and 4.
Or how is it a little more?
If you can figure out exactly how it works, that's quite a feat. They give you a number, and either you like the number or you don't like the number. An example I'll give is, you know, when you buy the rights, you get all the scripts and the scores, right? If you don't return all the scripts and the scores, they charge you for that. However, if you don't return, sometimes actors like to keep their scripts. So there have been schools that have said, well, all right, we'll just pay. You know, if the kid wants to buy their script, they can buy their script. But what will happen then is the company will charge you more for the rights to the next show and say the reason we're charging you more is because we didn't get all your scripts back last time. And really, they're the only show in town. So they can pretty much charge what they want. They have a monopoly on the rights to just about everything.
Okay.
So. All right, so we had 2 plays this year, just kind of give you a breakdown of the cost. We had the Addams Family in the fall, we had Mary Poppins in the spring. If you look, you can see the tickets for Addams Family. Again, we brought in about $7,000. The ad book was a smaller ad book, bringing in about $850, concession about the same. The raffle, the other thing I would say about the raffle is, and the message to the stars, is some of that money is used towards, to give scholarships for the graduating seniors.
Mike, approximately how much would go towards the scholarships?
Depends on the number of seniors each year. Typically, a scholarship would be anywhere between $50 and $300, and it all depends if there are, I want to say it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I think there were almost a dozen seniors involved. This year there's 8, I think, involved, so it would really all depend on that.
Okay.
The others and the raffle we talked about. So then you can see the user fees, the donations, and all other student activity and the funding sources coming there for a total of the revenues of about $30,000. And the expenses, the stipends, you can see most of the plays almost evenly split between the stipends costing about the same as what it costs to do the play. The stipends, as Matt said, orchestra, things like that, they're paid a flat rate, but then also so much per rehearsal, so much per performance, and again, that's all contractual.
So if we go to the next slide, Mary Poppins, you see the ticket sales was a little bit better. Same with the ad book. It was a big ad book because it was Joe Doniger's last performance, and it's also a bigger ad book with the seniors at their end. They tend to get more advertising there as well. The concessions and raffle were about the same. This is the time when we middle of the year is when we generally apply the line item in the general fund budget to pay salaries and stipends for the staff that help with that. We also took in the user fees and donations to balance that off. You see, we didn't really have to dip into the student activity account or the the fund balance at this point to see if we're going to do a spring play or to have the program be ready for next year. The staff, as well as the students, I think, have been very respectful to one another. You know, when they came in and they had some money to work with, they always try and leave something for the next group, and that kind of brings us to the end here, where they pay $75 a show, the money we took in, and we're not recommending any change in the fee structure for next year as well. The program is working with a definitely well-oiled team group. We can't fund it solely on the operating budget, but between donations, the parents and the students, it works out.
Thank you.
And I would just add to that, if I could, like with the athletic program, thank you to the drama mamas and papas for all their hard work, raking leaves, selling things, drives, you name it. Sewing. These plays could not take place without the parents. It also couldn't take place without the local businesses. If you look at those ad books, especially this last one in the spring, which is a bigger one, there aren't many businesses in towns that aren't buying an ad. And the drama program really is one of those things that pulls our whole community together, where you have people whose kids have graduated 15 years ago sitting next to people whose kids are in first grade and have nobody in the program. So really the drama program is a hugely important part of what we do. Also, for those of you who went to Mary Poppins, I do have to say a special thank you to the Lieber Golf Tournament. We were able to do Mary Poppins. The flying cost about $5,000, and that $5,000 for the flying was a donation from the Lieber Golf Tournament, who said to Joe Doniger, we want you to be able to use this as you see fit. He said, I want to use it to make people fly. And they were very happy to hear that. So I just had to give those special recognitions.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll start. I know that we have lost Mr. Doniger this year. He retired. So what are we looking at going forward? Do we have, are we interviewing? I'm not sure what direction you'll be taking.
I'll tell you, we haven't lost Mr. Doniger because he's still cleaning out his office, though he might get lost in his office, if you've seen it. We have posted the position of Theater Arts Director. We have 5 people who have applied for the position with varying levels of experience, from a great deal of experience to a little experience. A couple of those people are from Hull, and 3 of those people are from outside of the town of Hull. We are going to expand it. We're going to send the posting to places that have theater arts programs, colleges, in hopes that maybe somebody from an Emerson or BU or someplace that has an established program might, you know, look at it and say, hey, maybe that's something that I could do. The drama program absolutely 100% will continue. What the drama program will look like, I'm not going to say until we have a director, because I think the director of the program has to be able to have a say in what the program looks like. We had a great meeting here with students and parents, and one of the things that the students did tell us loud and clear is they love doing the musicals. They want to try some other things. They want to try doing a comedy. They want to try doing a dramatic production. So I think the program will look a little bit different, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I think hearing the kids so really eloquently say, we want to try some different things, will lead to a stronger program.
Right, and I do remember parents being upset because if they didn't do musicals, you wouldn't have the gigantic casts. But then you had said when you were in high school, you would have double casts, where you would have one cast would do 2 productions and the other cast would do 2 of those, 2 of the nights. So that doubles the cast number, doesn't it?
Yep.
So that's a very good option, I thought, that you brought up. So
Thanks.
I will start down on my right with Eric. Any questions?
Yeah, I actually had a whole slew of questions coming in based on what we had gotten in advance of this meeting, and the PowerPoint that we're seeing now is different. And I guess that's sort of the source of my confusion. The revenues that we had in our packets from Thursday were substantially less than the expenses, and I was having a hard time figuring out how it all worked. And I guess I'm still a little confused.
Keep it right there.
Even understanding, because some of the numbers has changed. So I guess that's sort of the sort. Could you just explain the difference between Thursday and today first?
And I had emailed Matt because I had a question about that as well.
Sure. When we did it the first time around, they weren't in balance because we were just showing the revenues that we were taking in, you know, for the program, and didn't include all the things that we actually used to pay them out. Like the student, we showed part of the student activity fees, but not necessarily all of them. So I went through in detail through all the line items and you know, updated them to what we've actually taken in at the times we took them in for the specific program. So for example, the $4,300 in user fees for this program is the fees that we took in the beginning of the year into November. And you know, that's exactly the amount that's in our ledger.
Okay,
And donations.
Well, donations as well, yes.
Yeah, the all other 10,539. That's what is that line item?
The SA is for student activity accounts, and the FB is for beginning fund balance. So each year there's a fund balance in the donations account as well as the user fee accounts the last few years. And if the revenues in the fall production haven't necessarily met the expenditures for the fall production, we would at the time be dipping into the fund balance or using more of the fund balance of the student activity fees. When you look at the next production, the spring production, where we take in some more revenues, you see we don't really need to go there at that time. And then sometimes we're putting money back into those fund balances for the end of the year. The student activity account's been fairly stable. The donations account has gone from about 12,000 down to about 6, and the user fees was up for a little bit, and it's dropped back down a little bit as well. There's a natural ebb and flow to the programs over time, and people, you know, will watch it, and people will work to make a difference, whether it's through the donations or recommending a different user fee or an increased level of participation that also helps with the revenue. I mean, these things aren't exactly static, even though the fee or the price at the door may not change. Also, the revenue sales could be better for one type of play than another. I mean, for Mary Poppins, for example, everybody wants to see the kids fly. It might not be as endearing to get some folks to come see another play. I'm not going to pick on Oklahoma, but I can't think of any other musicals at the moment where they want to see a little more, I don't know, aerial stunts or something. And little kids can enjoy the Mary Poppins thing maybe a little bit more than Oklahoma if they've seen the Disney movie. Sometimes things like that.
They did Oklahoma.
I know they did.
Oh, okay.
I know, but
The example
Yeah.
I like to use is Little Shop of Horrors. I bring my daughters to all the plays. I'm not going to bring them to my 6-year-old to a play about a plant that eats people.
I did.
You did?
I brought my oldest to that, and he was really freaked out.
Yeah. All right.
There
So,
you go.
and that,
Cautionary tale.
again, that does make a big difference. You know, the play. Eric, I think the biggest difference in the slideshow is when I put the original slideshow together, it didn't show you. I just gave you, look, straight out, boom. This is what we bring in at the door, the concessions, things like that.
Yeah, the top 4 were the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what we did is, basically we were trying to show you there was a big difference between what comes in at the door. On this one, you can see, again, 10,000 coming from here, the user fees, things like that. So it was just trying to show you, though, what comes in on the weekend of the play. The first 4 are the weekend of the play. And again, there's a big difference. The weekend of the play doesn't pay for the show. It's the hard work of the kids and the parents that pay for a very big chunk of the show. So we just thought we would present it to you that way.
Okay. I guess, I guess if you just add the two totals together, you're looking at like $68,000. And it looks like you're looking at, 14,000 in donations from the Mamas and Papas, but it sounds like there's other donations as well. I'm just trying to get I felt like with the athletics one, we kind of had like a final big picture that I'm kind of missing here.
Yeah, so I think one of the big things, Eric, is with athletics, it's pretty much the boosters, right? And then you have the donations that come from the youth sports, okay? So that's taking care of athletics. On this side, on the drama side, you have the drama mamas and papas doing their fundraising, but then you also have the school-based fundraising of the candles, the cookies, the pizza, the thing like that. And then you also have the revenue of the ad book and the gate receipts. So when you look at our funding sources for drama, what keeps that going? Drama mamas and papas, the kids out there doing their thing, and the weekend of the show. So it's not as neat as the boosters. Boom, 3 seasons. It is a little bit more controverted, I guess. It's a little different.
All right, thank you.
You all set, Eric?
Yeah.
Michelle?
I know. Well, it's interesting because I was following this and I was looking at Eric and I was like, what is he saying the difference? And I looked at my laptop. Oh, so thank you for the
I
explanation.
apologize for that.
The big thing is that the donations,
Yeah.
that's the biggest.
Right.
No, I'm just very happy to hear that the show will go on. I think this is just a great part of Hull High School, and I enjoy going to the shows.
the biggest difference between the funding sources and the two programs, they both have a little support from the general fund. They both have a user fee. They both have a donation support from a parent booster group. And the only other difference is there isn't a student activity like club for athletics. They already have their teams. This has a club activity, and that's where actually they produce the majority of their funding to make the program happen. So that's the difference. And the accounting of that is kept in the school principal's office, and then it comes up to the central office. And so to dig into the details, we always have to kind of sit down and work it out together just to make sure we're on the exact same page.
Well, let me try to understand, how much of the student activity count is the candle fundraiser, pizza fundraiser, and those kind of fundraising things? The others, the ticket sales, concessions, ad book, I would think those are all fairly comparable to what athletics does, where you have the gate receipts and concessions and all those sorts of things go into a revolving fund as well.
It's comparable in nature, but it's not comparable in percentage of the program because...
That's just what I'm trying to understand.
Okay, so there are gate receipts for both. Yes, they go into a revolving fund. The difference is there aren't gate receipts for the majority of the athletic programs, where there's huge gate receipts because there's so few events with the drama program. So that's really how they, and it's not just in Hull, that's how the drama program stays afloat everywhere. They spend a lot of money on the costumes and the set, and they get everything all ready, and they rent the script, and it's a lot of work. And in order for the program to work anywhere, there's always been a ticket price to make it balance. So that's really the difference between, to me, between the two programs. The
Let
gate
me just try to
receipts
clarify what I'm asking. You were making the point that this is a student activity account, that the kids are the ones raising the bulk of the funds for this program. And I'm just trying to understand, other than ticket sales and donate concessions and ad book, which is kind of not really the kids raising it directly, I'm trying to figure out what part of it the kids are raising through these fundraisers, through this portion.
Sure. So candle sales, for example, this October, we've got, call it, we have $4,150, $1,712, and $668. So call it $6,500 right there in the candle sales. Again, that's the kids going out and selling the candles.
Yeah.
Okay. The pizza sales again are going to be a few $1,000s, depending on the year. $2,000 to $3,000 is typically what that brings in. So that is, that right there is money. That's kids going out and banging on the doors themselves to raise that money. And again, when we say the kids funding the show, a lot of the ads that go in the ad book are the parents who are, I want to put an ad in for my child. The gate receipts, again, no play, no gate receipts. So I think that's what we were talking about by the kids funding it. But those are the two main fundraisers that go into the student activities account each year. In addition, every year of the quiz night proceeds, $1,000 of the quiz night proceeds goes to drama. So that's something that helps them out there. And when I say it's the kids' money, basically a decision was made quite a while back that all these proceeds would be done through a student activities account. And the minute it goes, it might not be their money before it goes in, but the minute it goes in there, it's their money. And again, where we need their signature, their permission of one of the officers of the drama program before we can take anything out of that.
Okay. I'll just make a plug. I mentioned this to you personally, but I like Shakespeare, and there's no rights fees to that. I might be dating myself or something, but...
To be...
It says, Michelle?
Yep, no, I don't have.
David?
No, I think, Eric did a pretty good job there, so. Otherwise, pretty good job by everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, guys, and good luck with the new program. It's exciting.
Thank you.
Exciting. Yes.
On the expense side of that slide, is Doniger in there?
Yes.
As a stipend?
His stipend is included in that figure, yes.
And will you be able to use that same amount in looking for the new Doniger?
The new Doniger. Doniger.
I'm not sure what you're asking,
Doniger
Roger. I'm
2.0.
sorry.
The same salary.
Excuse me?
I'm not sure what you're asking. Oh,
With the same amount.
Replace him with someone.
yeah.
Is that someone going to be about the same cost as Doniger was?
I would anticipate. that. I think that's gonna be a conversation that'll take place based upon negotiations, experience, things like that.
Makes sense. Yes, Dennis?
I'd ask the same question I was asking Jim, but now I realize that these two programs are almost fully funded by user fees and donations and not a large amount from the school budget, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, drama, I think it's different. Matt?
Drama, no.
Well, I'll give you the whole question because I just really was trying to get a sense of like what portion, what percentage is attributed to the drama versus the sports, because you both all commented on the balance and the importance of both. So as I look at the numbers, not being able to do them in my head, it'd be great to have a sense of what percentage goes to each.
For athletics, currently it's about 55% of the program is now funded through the general fund.
55?
Yeah, and that's up from, I think it was about 20% a few years ago. We've been able to bring that up since the worst year in like fiscal 10. With the drama program, it's kind of ranges between 12 and 14% the last few years is funded by the general fund. You know, the user fee portion is about the same for both programs, but the boosters would do a little, it would also be somewhat similar, but the big balance difference comes from the student activity portion of it. And, you know, the purpose or the intent of student activities is to teach the kids involved the value of enterprise, how to plan an activity, how you're going to fund it, how you're going to make choices to pay for it, and how you're going to make sure you don't come out in the red at the end of the year. And, you know, in most school systems, the drama program is a student activity program, at least in the other 3 places I've worked. And in comparing notes with colleagues whenever issues come up, everybody seems to run it the same way. And, you know, in some places it's even able to self-fund, but, you know, we're not able to do that, so we need the donations in the revolving fund. Or in places where it self-funds, the directors and all the staff in it are in the budget, and then the program funds everything else. So all depends on exactly who you ask and what the details are. But for us, the reason why there's a difference between what the operating budget funds is because the student activity portion here is so successful. And we know that that's not just the students by themselves. The parents play a great role in it, helping the kids make it happen.
Can I just make sure I understand that? So basically, the school budget is picking up about 12 to 14% of the drama program. And that's part of our school department budget.
That's correct.
And the school department budget picks up about 55% of the sports costs, the whole big issue, whatever it is.
That's correct.
Got that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thanks.
That makes sense? Okay. John?
Do you have any idea how many of the Hull High School students participate in either sports and/or drama?
We do have that percentage, yeah.
Yeah, the athletic participation is about 60% of our students participate in one or more. The drama program, it ranges, you know, between anywhere between about 15% to about, I'm going to say 12 to 18%. It depends on the show, depends on how many students are involved with the crew and that. But a typical play will have, Mary Poppins, for example, had between cast and crew, it was about, I want to say 38 students that participated.
Is there any other activity in school where it is so highly funded by outside sources?
I would say that most of our, really, percentage-wise or number-wise, right? For example, mock trial, the advisor does it for free. The advisors do it for free. And the students, when they go to Harvard University for the training, when they have transportation, it's all funded through fundraising. Really, other than stipends, most of our co-curricular activities, the students fund it themselves through their hard work and their parents' hard work.
Based on what you're presently funding out of your budget, what would fulfill, how many dollars would fulfill the requirement for drama and for the sport program in next year's budget to make it a break even?
To fully fund?
I'm going to turn that one over to Matt.
Without a specific dollar amount, in round numbers, you see here that we were, you know, budgeting for about $10,000 in revenues, and we're running about $68,000 program. So
take the whole sports program and all the drama program, toss all the dollars in one bucket and say, out of the school budget comes X, I need Y to make it a break-even proposition from
about 120, 125 more for athletics, and to you say so that the kids didn't have to do any fundraising or any other work. To answer that question, yeah, it would be, you know, you could add on top, you know, to get to $68,000 for these two programs, and if they wanted to have another one, which there often is in the spring, there would be an additional cost to that. So 120, 125, plus we'll just say another 50, 175, could be as much as 190. But I would say that there is a good value in the student activity portion of it. There's a good learning experience. Maybe it could be less and a little less pressure, but I bet if you ask the kids, they like doing some of the work and learning and putting the effort in and making it happen and knowing that it wasn't all done for them. if you recall being a teenager, you like to rebel a little bit and do some things on your own.
One more question, if I may. If the budget was some mysterious activity, all of a sudden, you got $150,000 more in your budget to support sports and theater, would that money be devoted towards those two activities?
That would depend on the donor. If the donor said, I'm going to give you this money and you could only use it for that, I don't want to speak solely for the school committee, but I think they'd really consider it.
I'm not suggesting I'm going to be the donor, I'm just trying to figure out.
We're willing to lower that price if it makes you feel better about your donation.
I'm an outsider in this. I don't have kids in school. I participated in a lot of these things in my tenure in school. Rough figure, 75% of the kids at this school participate in some of these activities. Outside of going to class, that's probably the highest percentage there is, right?
Depends on the high school. There are
one or two central things. My point is, I guess, how important is it to you all that the kids get every opportunity to participate in this in the least expensive way possible?
Turn that over to the principal.
I get, there's some people, I refer to these events as co-curriculars. Other people refer to them as extracurriculars, and I know some people give me a hard time about that. But I really look at it, it's essential. There are skills that can only be learned by being a part of a team or a cast. And a cast is as much of a team as a basketball team. How important is it? It is essential. However, if I'm asked to make a recommendation between academic cuts and co-curricular cuts, I have to lean towards preserving the academics first, because the reality is that is what we do first, and the number of our students who will use their athletic abilities or their dramatic abilities to help themselves get through college is a very small number. The amount that will use their academic abilities to get into college and get through college is all of them. You know, so it's really finding that balance. You asked if all of a sudden there was $150,000, you know, what would we do with it? Well, I would, you know, obviously that's at the discretion of the school committee and the superintendent what happens with that. If there was $150,000 that could be used for anything, my recommendation would be some of it absolutely be used for co-curricular and some of it be used for the academic program. And I couldn't give you a breakdown, but you know, there are definitely things that I would say, look, as important as it is to help reduce the fundraising that needs to take place for drama or for athletics, there's also some things we need on the academic side that if it was a wish list, I've got my wish list.
As does every principal and administrator in the district.
Tony doesn't. He said it could all go to the high school.
I see Tony writing things down.
We used to travel a lot with the Marching Pirates, and we fundraised all the time in the 80s. I mean, we were constantly fundraising. We had to. That was part of what we did. So I don't think that this is new about fundraising.
Right, right.
I think,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Yeah. I think just looking from the outside in, I think if some parents had more time at home with their kids, they would all benefit more instead of going out and fundraising as much as they do. And I think kids do need to go out and help earn their way, earn their stripes, so to speak, in doing all this. But I guess I'd just like to see a little bit more cost towards those activities. If 75% of the kids are doing it, they're tired.
Not to go back, but the first question that John asked. So when you said the total for all the programs, you said like 170 or 190, but wouldn't it be like about 325, or did I miss a part? Because it says here like your athletic department total expenses, it says 252,000.
So I think he was just
Then
adding
you take
on
like
120.
30 for each one of those. That's so.
Yeah.
Did I mishear that? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I didn't
120 to
mishear.
what he already had, I think.
yeah, when Matt answered that, he was talking in addition, I think, to the
In
current
addition to.
allocation.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, athletics, as Jim said tonight, it's about 252.
Yeah.
When you figure in the drama program, 2 shows a year, ballpark it, call it between $65,000 and $70,000 for that program.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Susan?
Could you make sure that we either Mike or Nettie or somebody sends us the new slides, so that we're not quoting with the wrong stuff.
Can we get those on the website?
Of course, that's me.
Thank you.
This is the correct one, I think, the one that you have.
She was
Do you
on
want a hard
email.
copy of the new one?
Yeah. Do you want mine? Done.
I wrote all of mine. Yeah.
But we'll still put it on the website, it's not, we'll still do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
guys very much.
Thank you.
A lot to work. Okay.
Could I make a comment? I know we're not, we haven't had a recommendation to change the fees, but I still believe we should vote on maintaining the fees.
Maintaining?
So, and I would even be willing to make the motion. I know.
No, I have a conflict of interest yet as of this year, so I am going to have to recuse myself.
So what do I do?
Did you sign the conflict of interest this year? I did mine last year, not this year.
Yes, I did.
This year you did?
Yes, I did.
Then you're all
So
set.
I'm all set. Okay, so
Three of us can vote.
I have a motion.
I'll make a motion
I think
to,
Michelle Lana should leave the room.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Okay.
Or go like this, la, la,
No,
la.
I'll leave, it's okay.
Seemed like a
Whoops,
lot.
I'm gonna trip
sorry.
and leave.
I'm sorry. I'm so far back, I didn't give you any room, I'm sorry.
We won't tell you when we're finished.
She might thank us for not telling you. Okay, Eric, go
I'll make
ahead.
a motion to have athletic, the fees for participation in athletics, sport, as listed in our presentation, Sport 1, $250, Sport 2, $175, Sport 3, $150. Students participating in football and ice hockey must pay an additional $25 fee, all with an individual student athlete cap of $575 and an immediate family cap of $1,050. Should I do
Do
drama
the
separately?
drama. You know what, can we do drama together? with
Yeah, let's
it?
do them all together.
All
Do it all
right.
together.
And also to adopt the recommended drama user fee, cast and crew members pay $75 per show.
Okay, do I have a second for that motion?
Second that.
Second by David Twombly. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's unanimous.
Tell Michelle. Thank you.